All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Programs and Services Subcommittee meeting. Today's date is October 31st. Happy Halloween. It is now almost 3:05. We're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with agenda item number 1, which is the roll call and introduction. We'll start with the CAB members and those in the room. My name is Nicole Grigg. I am the chair of Community Advisory Board and sitting in as chair for Programs and Services today. And I will pass it to our next committee member.
Hello, my name is Renee Hurley and I represent West County.
And yeah, I forgot I represent East County too.
I'm Tracy Simpson. Concord. Central County. Good afternoon, Tiffany, and I represent East Contra Costa.
And we'll open it up to,
Okay. Hi, everyone. Patrice Guillory here from Office of Ranger and Justice. I will be leaving for that's all. I'm gonna be here.
and we'll go ahead and move into community members on Zoom, committee members on Zoom.
Hi, my name is Walanda. Not sure which county I'm representing just yet, but new CAB member.
And, Kimmy?
Hello, I'm Kimmy Aseo with the Office of Reentry and Justice.
Thank you. And then for our guests on Zoom.
Jana Evans, Game Plan for Success, Office of Education.
Travis Grindal, Office of Reentry and Justice.
Welcome. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Our next agenda item is for public comment on any items under the jurisdiction of the committee and not on the agenda. So I would like to add, we can have more discussion later on within the agenda. As you heard earlier, we have 3 new members on CAB that is here today that is interested in the program services committee. Tiffany is going to join the Program and Services Committee. She is taking some additional notes for me, Kimmy, as secretary today. But part of our discussion, as we go through this agenda, either some midway in there or after we do the approval minute to be able to talk about the chair position, the secretary position, and kind of get that set there before we end the meeting. So we didn't get to actually put it as an item, but I may later do it to the end. That's that particular point. So I will be asking members here if anyone, I wanted to wait for Rena Moore as well, because she actually has stepped up into that role. When our last chair stepped down, to see if anyone wanted to step into that chair position. We also have the secretary, and I'm leaving it last because we'll qualify items first about what's on the agenda and programs and services before anybody jump in. But I didn't want to pin that, then we'll have that discussion before we get into that. So I'm trying to get this. Is there any other public comment in the room? No. Any public comment on Zoom? And I just seen that Jill joined, so I just want to give her an opportunity to introduce herself. Welcome, Jill.
Hi there. Jill Ray with Supervisor Candace Anderson's office.
Hello. Right, and just heads up, we will have one other member coming in shortly, so as she shows up, we will have her introduce herself. So we'll go ahead and move over to agenda item number 4, which is the Contra Costa County in custody survey. So we will be looking at the survey results.
Hey, Nicole, we didn't approve the record of action.
Oh, thank you. That's why I love that you're here. Thank you. I'm taking a step back on the agenda. We're actually going back to agenda item number 3, which is to consider approving the regular action from July 18th, CAB Programs and Services Subcommittee meeting. I will be looking for a motion and then a second. Not sure, hopefully it's something that you've been able to look at before we got here, but if not, Kenny has it put up and I'll give you all a second to review it. We have discussion or any recommended changes received. So Ray has a motion, Kimmy, and I'm looking for a second.
I'll second the motion.
And Tiffany seconds. Can you take a vote for me, please?
Sure. So, Raina,
Aye.
Which one?
and well, Raina Hurley is the only one here, right?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. We got-
Oh, sorry. Raina Hurley, sorry, voted aye. And then Nicole, I guess you voted. And Tiffany?
Aye.
Perfect. Motion carries.
Thank you. So now we can move to agenda item 4, which is the Contra Costa County in custody survey. We can go ahead and please pull up that item. So it starts off on page 11. And I'm not sure if anyone had a chance to look through it, but give you all a chance to kind of review it, open up for discussion within committee members. So I'll definitely say, as you all are reading that program and services, we had an opportunity to come look at it for now. Because the last meeting was canceled and was, you know, when I say excited about the results, it kind of matched into what the gaps we were already looking at. And then one of the key things that we were looking for was to see if what was reported by the women matched in reference to what we were looking for the gender responsive services. So it kind of fell into play what we were focusing on, which is really good. And to confirm, Patricia will get like a full report from RJ, like we always provide.
In this case, well, I'll get back with the team and see if that's possible.
Okay.
Just because there's some limitations. to the survey.
Okay. So we can kind of go through it and just have that discussion. The first thing that stood out, and I know this previous year was the number of results. So it got 12 that responded from West County. Women are not really stationed there too much, so that makes sense.
What about Clayton, Marsh Street, what type of?
There's no one in Marsh Creek that's on in. Good question.
Do we know how many surveys were dispersed throughout the facility until?
Don't, well, I believe.
So it was, included on all of the tablets that are distributed amongst the women, modules. Now, how many, now, I don't know the full process in terms of, you know, if they're individual devices assigned to different, or if they're switched out periodically, that part I'm not certain of. But they were included on the devices, and notification was given out to them to be able to utilize the device to fill out the survey.
And those are some good key points to write down for when you start doing our next one, make sure. The questions. But I know to give you some context on why this is only focused on the women, those are surveys we did last year, we got more response from men. So programs and services decided to send a survey out only to women. This go around to kind of get their input on it. So definitely I would say come up with some great, maybe some ideas and concepts on how we want to do it next year. and have a discussion, but really what, I can definitely say for myself, want to see from this, was just to kind of tie it back. Since we're uplifting gender responsive services and women's services, with the 819 access funds and kind of ensure that we're getting all the gaps identified within the survey. As you look through here, is there anything else that stood out to you? I would say for me on page 13, the age, 26 to 45 was really high.
That also really stood out for me. It's because from day to day work, I do feel like, we see a lot of like 46 to 64, and so it's kind of interesting that there is a large population that could potentially be served. In addition to like the current conditions, behavioral health, and I actually wasn't surprised that that was like pretty much the top, or even like the same amount of percentage of drug use, and then consider that those services or were not affected.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but would you guys mind projecting your voice? It's a little hard to hear online.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. I definitely can use that from time to time. I was just looking at like the top 3 most critical areas of need, employment, housing, and then income, benefits, and transportation were kind of like tied to like being third under that. So that was really interesting. And I was really curious around like, since we are focused on women, like how many women would need support with like families or children, minors under the age, and I see that the percentages were pretty low. So I'm just curious, like if the women feel comfortable enough to express the need, for around the children, because I know that that could be, a concern, safety concern, depending on where the data or the information will be shared. So I'm really curious if it's actually more, maybe these 13 individuals don't have children.
Right.
And, looking at like the greatest concerns, these are services and necessities that are available through the current programs and services. So
Right.
my mind is just kind of wrapped up around those things.
Right. And that was definitely some great input. And what I was taking away from that, it just dropped more questions for me in reference to, as we start to construct our next survey, what questions to ask when it comes to the sheriff's office and Jody and reference to put the process together, or when we start shaping the gender responsive services and start working on that. Those are different things that we can take into account. Also, it helps us move into the next year as well as we start looking at programs. So it ties into the gaps that we already know is there. But it really uplifts that the fact, like you said, there's already programs and services that are providing this, but it ties back into what we were saying last year when it came to the men. That's what brought up all the work and looking at the gaps. Why are these gaps there if we have these programs and services in place, and are they meeting the need of all the programs? Employment and housing is always number 1. I was also shocked when I looked at this and reference the same thing when you say mental health, substance abuse, parenting. Women are different, and if they don't feel comfortable providing the response, like were they worried about who was going to see this? Were they worried about if the responses were going to affect them in any way? Maybe there's a better way where we actually put that survey out to provide a little bit more information or clarity, or maybe coming up with another unique way of distributing this. I know last year CAB actually did a tour of the facility, so glad to have this conversation with you all, because I can just get your ideas running so that when you think about what you want to do the next year, we can, come up with some ideas. So I would definitely say make note of those things. And as those conversations continue to happen around the gender responsive services and what that would actually look like when you get built, those are some things that, like what you just pointed out, that can be uplifted from CAB, that we want to ensure that these things, to figure out why the women feel that way. But as being women as part of this, we probably have an idea of why they probably don't want to respond, or was it just that the women didn't have kids? But majority of the ones that we see, they have all of these things on here, you know, so. Okay.
Sorry.
No problem, ma'am. How are you? I'm here. And then, Kimmy, I'm gonna have her introduce herself before we start. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rena Moore. I live in Michigan.
So we were just, we just started, so part of our discussion, we actually have the results from the survey. So we're just looking through the results, having, conversation about it. Definitely take a second. It starts on page 11. On what the women had to say and just typically there, everyone's brought up some good key points to kind of take forward and what they've seen on here. So if you haven't had an opportunity to look at it, kind of fit in. We're just having some open discussion. Any other feedback?
I just have some curiosity, that we can maybe bring up here. I was just curious, like how accessible the surveys are, like how is it communicated that the surveys are available on the tablets and, you know, like, I'm not sure how much time each woman will have with the tablet or, if maybe some individuals don't have access to the tablet. Or, you know, what is the messaging of why someone should take the time to complete the survey? Maybe if there was like education and like messaging, like who's providing the message. And then just ensuring that everyone has the same access to the tablet and the surveys, that we were really capturing everyone. I'm not sure if some individuals are, you know, voluntary confinement or have some other challenges going on where they wouldn't really have the opportunity to present with tablet time. And so we also like to hear around like, you know, the most critical needs for the most vulnerable individuals that are as well.
So I'll definitely say take some notes for that, and when we actually get to the work plan, I will leave this on here, so making a note about extending some of these things, more questions for the sheriff's office, in reference to how this is distributed out, and those key questions that you have.
And then lastly, maybe if we were just more thoughtful around like the family related questions of the children, that way it doesn't seem like identifying like the gap of like things they were able to provide, but maybe there's like, maybe like an aid or a resource versus like, you know, I would think maybe there would be a fear on like, you know, will this be reported out if I share a food insecurity or that I don't have a safe space for the
Right.
children? You know, I could see why maybe that may not want to be shared, so.
Right.
We could just be more thoughtful, think of ways to capture the most transparent
Right.
data.
Just making it feel safe and respond.
Mhm.
I think some of the questions that you asked, I wanted we to get some of the answers. Now, we may not be able to dig deep, like in reference to, some of the questions that, like, how was it distributed? Did they know? How did it go out? What was the message? If we typed up those, and I'm talking to Patrice, if we typed up just a couple of questions to ask Jody, could we get that out?
Sure. I can even see if she's available to.
Okay, that would be better. So I think it'll be a great idea to, thank you, Patrice.
Well, I would love to say, yes, you can certainly send us questions in the event she's not available to
Okay.
attend.
So I think it'll be a great idea, and I'll leave it up to you all, maybe coming up with those questions, if you all can just come up with a few and then get those over to Garyana, and we can put those together, or whomever the chair will be. Or you all want to send it to me in the intro, that way, and then we can invite her to the December meeting, if Jody cannot make it to our next meeting, and those questions can go out. I think some of those questions are valid questions, in reference to how we got the results, and that can help. Maybe we can summarize it at the end. For the board.
And then can you tell us, do we know how many responses there was from?
It was a total of 99 responses with one bid.
interesting that even when we did not have a target for the women, we had low response. And now we have a target for the women, we still have a low response.
So keep in mind, last year, it wasn't on the tablet, it was paper. So that was a little bit difficult. I know the sheriff reported that they distributed the paper copy. So how that was done and how that was sent, I'm not really sure exactly. But it ended up reaching the men. Most of the time, I believe it, I think it reached Martinez. I know we have the results. You can probably see if we can include like a recap of the results or something in the next meeting. But that was sent out different, so that could be the reason for that. And in this time, the previous chair had a good idea about putting it on the tablet to try to put more focus on the room. But the questions that you both brought up were good points because we did not think of that, like how many actually are, how accessible is it? Or I'm like, maybe we did ask, but I don't think we got that answer. How accessible is it to the women? Yeah. Right, but it depends, but can everybody get on it and what that is? So those are questions that we definitely have to confirm with Jody. Any questions or feedback from anybody on Zoom? Okay, so our takeaway from this is as a committee, come up with a couple of questions, get those sent out to me and Gary on order. We find a chair will be in this meeting. The chair has to go to Gary on and sit in the chair. To put those together and then invite Jody back to the December programs and services meeting to have a discussion around the results and some of the questions that you all have to kind of set our goal forward of next year of how we want to conduct the survey. I think it's great for the upcoming year because again, it gives you an idea on how you want to do the survey. I don't believe they did the tour this year, and I could be wrong because I can't remember, but thinking of possibly doing the tour, if we have so many new members in here next year. Yeah, so just giving your ideas running for what's coming up in the upcoming year. So I'll definitely, leave that with you all to think about how you want to do that. Okay. All right, if there is no further discussion around the.
Nicole, Jana
Yes.
has her hand up.
Go ahead, Jana, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Oh, no worries. I just raised it. Today there are 66 women on building 4. I don't know how many there were the day the survey went out, but that kind of gives you an idea of if 12 on building 4 responded and there's 60-ish, that kind of tells you the percentage of women that responded. It took me a little while to hand count that, but just wanted to give you the number.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take that. That really helped. That's a big gap. Okay. More work next year, right? I think it's great to try to get creative and really try to create that relationship with the sharers to get this information out to the participant and hope to figure out how we can better the individual and engage in with other creative ways that we can do. Maybe even utilizing partners. So definitely say think of some ideas and.
I just, being very modest, put it out there, 2 months now, that's why I'm here. I was just wondering, if there was a way to incentivize individuals filling out the survey. The share side or the program side, should someone be released or,
So that would definitely be a Jody question.
Well, I can tell you, RDA.
Yeah, I was gonna say it.
Yeah, RDA actually conducted focus groups as part of the Cal Lane Justice Involved initiative to have understanding of what they call their consumer feedback effort. And we were disseminating the first survey kind of in concert with the focus groups that they were doing. And they attempted to incentivize participant participation with basically denying the ability to do so. So that I don't think that's possible to happen within the institutions, but if there's a way to work with our community program providers who already have access to those sort of incentives, upon the person's release or connection to any of those programs, maybe that's a possibility there, but, very unlikely that incentivizing participation in surveys and focus groups within institutions.
Might be like an additional hour on the tablet. Okay.
So when people are doing surveys, right, and they're saying like their critical needs that they need assistance with, are they getting connected to research? Is that connected?
So that's where we're looking at the question, I'm not sure. I don't believe after they do that survey, they're getting connected to services because of how they put it out. That wasn't part of our survey. I'm pretty sure that those involved, of course, are getting connected to CBOs that are inside if they're requesting for the services. But that's definitely one of those key questions that when we invite her or that we send out, I'll definitely say right there.
Because people are saying these surveys of the areas where they need help, like we were.
Well, maybe a question that we can add on there is, are you currently receiving it? Because those individuals that fill those out could be connected. We didn't ask that in there. So we're not sure if for those that checked off accounts, are they working with providers that are, because there's a quality providers already inside that does the pre-release. And then there's supposed to be all of our CBOs, and a lot of the CBOs come in, so those people could be connected, right? So that could be a question that's added is, are you currently connected to any of these providers? And we can list out providers, or we can list out the service.
Right.
Instead of just naming a provider. Where to get the service. Where to get, and if not, here are a list of providers, are you familiar with them? So we never asked them how familiar they are with, that hasn't been a question that was put in there. So that could probably be one to notate. Thank you for bringing that up. And anything else you all see?
And we may not factor here, but was there an option for like a free flow text? For them to say something like maybe they had a response that we didn't capture?
So when we first designed the survey, we did have a couple of questions that were meant to be open-ended. We could fill out the comments section. That somewhat worked in the initial survey that was distributed out to all three facilities, but it was paper. On the tablet side, there was no ability to capture an open comment. And so we had moved in this direction to kind of convert those to multiple choice questions. So that's how I kind of landed here.
You got a question? I was really surprised to see education and vocation. Because they have school inside, so. Anything else you get the page one thing up or? I know. Yeah. She was a way to see what the gauge, like their sentence. It wasn't a business replying to.
I'm not saying anything after that.
Sentence term, something.
Since we have sentence.
Put some sentence term that, get that one, add like section, identify the sentence term, see those that are replying to the survey, have that one for a short period of time, or, because that would help with the responses, because in that particular section for critical areas need, there's a lot of areas that are extremely low, but as you said, just from your own experience, these are key areas that we know that women need and are used, so it could be that the ones that responded to this were ones that came in and out. Yeah, find it.
And so there was their own questions just around like gender specific community and sexuality. For example, like menstrual project that we just expected there, women who were specifically participating in one of the surveys and like how they, what necessities they have and what is the need and like how the care is, and then also like You know, I know we've been, accommodating hygiene, care packs, or even, you know, long time after being home, they can still be a hardship working, so I was just curious, you know, like, whether it be birth control, monthly, feminine hygiene.
No, what's on here from 11 through 16 are all the questions that were put together.
Oh, those are the only, okay, I didn't know if there was any additional.
So that may be something that you all talk about, I think. But again, as the new year come up, we'll have that discussion and, like I said, these results will help in many ways, especially with what's going forward, what they're going to next services, as well. Not just, like, not to repeat myself, we're meeting with the sheriff and asking questions and trying to get some more information to tie in with these results, and I think if we kind of summarize it and then go through the report to the full path. Before we move on, is there any more discussion around the in-custody survey?
One last thing, you know, I just noticed how like learning challenges, you know, is pretty much up there and it just kind of follows the concept versus an interest of like school or learning. On page 14, distribution of revenue for disabilities. Just learning challenges that like 36%, like 5 of the 13 individuals. So I'm just curious if that has anything to do with like, you know, only 4 individuals like have a concern around education or education on page 17. Like the critical areas of need, only 2 individuals with education and vocation. And I'm just curious if that, you know, maybe the learning disabilities, that is a component that maybe deter individuals from going further with their education or training if they're not receiving care or like educating themselves around how to manage a learning disability.
The learning challenges were around those diagnosed with ADHD and ADD. And the way the question is written, it could or could not be. I mean, it's an open-ended question. We won't know that answer because they could have read that question and then just checked it off because it's someone that identified with ADHD, ADD, autism, hearing, or vision, or it could be exactly what you just said, education and education, right? So how do we expand the question to actually identify in these areas what is the learning check? Because if I read this, I can tip it 2 ways. I can check off my learning challenges because I have ADHD or ADD. It's not tied into the, you know, the other person. How can we expand the talent questions together? Again, these are good ideas to look over the questions, figure out how we kind of tighten it up. I would probably say this, listening to all of you guys, really as a committee, identifying what do we need, what do we want to learn from what we've seen from this women's survey? What is our objective? What is our goal? And then adjust those questions based on those. Because a lot of things just came up right now, right? And then we can just tailor that and maybe adjust what we already have. So I think we should kind of take a step back and get those questions answered and identify, because you guys came with like a whole bunch of information, a robust of, I think great topics and questions that we didn't think of. I know I didn't think of it when we were going through. I didn't think of it the last year when we did it. So I think it's something that's good for open, like I said, next year come with great ideas, open discussion and dialogue, and really sit down. What are we going to focus just on women again, or is it going to be women and men? And what do we really want to know based off of the survey last year that was men, and we have a survey with women, and try to develop something different and gather that information and expand on the questions. Again, I'm this is for y'all. I'm just here to sit in today. I'll be a fly on the wall next time. All right. Oh, go ahead, Janet.
13 at MDF today between medical module and F module. Just so you know how many are at MDF, roughly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I guess another question is to be able to ask how is this goal with that, you know, to be able to see the, you know, get that information. That's amazing. Okay, thank you. I'm not gonna be able to keep up. You volunteered to help me. Thank you. Those are another question to ask. And for those that may not be familiar with the facilities, you know, being also, I just think that if Jody's able to come and she's in service with the sheriff, what, for those that may not be familiar, what questions would you have for her that you want to ask? If you're not familiar with the different sites, you know, how our site ran or how the one may differ from Martinez to West County. Those are questions for anyone that may be on the board that don't know. Those are valid questions. Especially when you're trying to put a survey together and get it out. You may not get the same result from Martinez that you would get from West County. How accessible are the women at Martinez versus West County? And again, those points that you have lifted, do they all have access to, like, those are important questions. And then maybe we want to decide, do we want to get back out on the tablet again? Do we want to do both? I know that we were up against time this year. So I think, you know, we can hit the ground running. If this is one of the focuses after the retreat in January and start working on the survey, getting the survey outlined and figure out how we want to get it out. Any more questions before we move on? No? Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and move to agenda item number 5, which is the work plan. So I wanted to have the work plan added onto here so that we can review it, and that's make sure I didn't skip anything. This new agenda. So I wanted to, the work plan is going to be included at every meeting. So I wanted to give some more context to the work plan. As I mentioned before at the last full CAP meeting, this was something that we should be, our committees should be looking at every single meeting that they're at to ensure that they're touching on items, updating items, you know, completing items that's on there, and we did not do that this year. So I'm adding it back and want to get everybody familiar with having it there to kind of go through it. Now, programs and services put in a lot of work this year. So we want to kind of look through this and get an idea of what's been done, what needs to be carried over. After the retreat next year, whatever subcommittees individuals go on, you will be looking at the work plan again and identifying who's going to do what and mapping it out. But we definitely want to take a look at this and kind of go over it and have that discussion. Due to the recent changes and all the new members, really program and services focus to end this out, and a good job that they did with the survey and getting the results, as well as the presentations that they held within the year. And then there's a spreadsheet in here that we'll get to in a second. So let's kind of take a look at it. Also want to open it up since we have any questions for the current members and or myself on what's on here. So I think it's a great way to have a discussion and to bring in the new members that's going to be part of the board. So the first one is advocacy and support of the CAP policy platform. So let's see here. So the first one on here is undertake a brainstorm priority projects and advocacy, expanding housing resources within the county for reentry beyond. That one it has been touched on and worked on through the 8109 Access Funds. One of our key priorities was housing. So if you have not already seen that, the RFP have went out with H3 for those one-time funds. And then as we mentioned at our last full CAP meeting, all of the contracts are up for bid coming up this fiscal year. So that particular priority item that was reported to us by, that was reported to the full board by this committee program services, that gap was identified and worked on through the 8109 Access Fund. So that did get identified, and then we have LAOs that also has been providing the housing resources for that as well. So that recommendation did get uplifted. I don't know what's going on. I told you. Expanding restorative county. That item was worked on in reference to expanding restorative justice within the county. I know a report out went out. RDA conducted work groups for that and gave us a great report out that was presented here. And I believe it was 2 that was done this year. I have to figure out what agenda that was in, or if that information is needed, ask RJ if we send that back out, but that was reported out to us as well. The next one, collaborate with other external boards, committees, or work groups such as Measure X and CAP. One of the key things the previous chair, and I know OCEC has uplifted as well, is identifying those external boards. That we think the CAB should be focusing on. So right now, the external boards that, Measure X was one of them, but our previous chair, Ozzy, was doing that. So no one sits on Measure X meetings. Sometimes I kind of do jump in here and there. We have the H3, which really more goes in as well. And then I support and back her up on that as I'm on that particular board. AOD, I'll get alcohol and other drugs. I remember my space. That do acronyms. I usually get a report out on that. Anything in reference to PPC, CCP, or any boss updates, we usually get an update from Jill, or we get an update from Office of Reentry and Justice. And am I missing any? What do you think? I think I covered it.
Well, the only thing I would point out is going forward, there won't be an AOD anymore.
So
There'll
yes,
be a
so AOD,
behavioral health board that combines both mental health commission and AOD.
that is correct. Thank you. So that will be adjusted, as Jill said. So there will be a behavioral health board or commission that we roll out in January. So the board is going away. So more to come from that, which is really exciting to see how that kind of pans out, because you know it focuses on our population as well. So everything is with the new laws that are being passed. AOD and mental health for all finally, which it should be, fall under one umbrella, which is amazing because it can deal with those individuals that have co-occurring disorder and they'll no longer be separate. So I know a lot of folks may not be excited about that, but I'm extremely excited because individuals deal with both. They go hand in hand. So to see them combined together and that they're now coming to the table to identify both, I think will be amazing. They are looking for people that want to join. I know there's a lot of individuals, so if you are interested in any of that work, you definitely want to go to your district individual and let them know that you are interested in possibly being a part of that commission. So I know there's supposed to be an application probably coming out too, so watch for the email for any email updates that may go out as well. But if you don't have to join them, you don't have to join boards. You can listen on Zoom. I join a lot of stuff just to listen sometimes to get an idea, but have that discussion. Where's our focus want to be? Is our focus still want to be on those key areas? Is there other boards or commissions that we want to join and listen to? I know there are quite a few out there, so definitely have that discussion if there's more. I know like TAG, youth. I know that was one thing I was going to uplift it on, and no one report back on that. So if there's certain areas that you all want to report on, I think we should look at that next year, because what we'll have to do is assign board members to that. So that's one part that can't remember if we discussed it or not, but as we go into our next year, we do ask that members do pick one of the another outside meeting and be able to listen and report back if they can. So we will make new assignments each year. Well, that's what we're talking about. So that's combining. It's going to be one behavior health thing. I was going at one point, and I know Latanya was going. I'm like you, I will drop in on stuff, but no one was like officially assigned. So in the meantime, if you happen to jump in on one of those, definitely bring it back. Even if it isn't one of our report outs, if it's something, if you join the meeting and you feel like it relates to our population, when we open up public comment, feel free to give that feedback, bring in those flyers, bring in that information, and share with the committee. So we always want to hear new things that are being done within the community that affect our population. So especially that's what program and services for. So if you run across something that is unique that we're not touching that you think would be great for the population, definitely bring it. That's the discussion that you all are supposed to have. Implicit bias training for CAB board members and CBOs that are receiving 81 line funding. That was done. ADA compliant for CBOs receiving 8109 funding. I believe that was a new item that was added. I don't think it was done yet, and correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the goal was there's supposed to be on-site visits that we didn't get to for a lot of reasons. A majority of the CBOs came and did presentations here at CAB, and with the change within the committee at last minute kind of took place in reference to the work that needed to be done. So we actually have enough information from our CBOs this year if the in-persons were not completed because they all came and did actual live presentations here. So going back to some of those surveys within a year, you'll be able to see outlines of budget, services and programs for all the CBOs, risk assessment, Health Record 60, minimum purpose. The sheriff even gave information. Contra Costa County Adult School gave education, gambling for success. And the inside of Gulf, the jails gave information, Laos gave information, so you can definitely go back and see. But the goal next year is to get back to the on-site and then keep in mind, with the new 8109 access funds, there has now been collaboration with outside county partners, right, such as H3. So how would that look? So as we're doing the on-site, maybe those are things that we can ask our providers, and it could be in their presentations. I don't want to say it is, I don't remember. But asking, are they ADA compliant? They have ADA compliant for individuals, and they'll take that. And as we get to the spreadsheet, again, we'll get to that in a second. That may be a column that we want to add as we're identifying services tied to each provider. Have a tab that says ADA compliance on there and notated as we do that. So that one item is still open. And then presentation from all CPOs receiving funding to make presentations before the full cap. That was done this year as well. So really the main thing that is left is that ADA compliance for CBOs receiving the funds and then collaborating with other external board and committee members. Are the two that's left in that section. Any question or feedback from members? So collaborate with other external boards and then ADA compliance. Do we need to have anything? I've been joining via Zoom, so I'm doing real good. Not to be able to remember all of it. I'll be listening. All right, so make sure I'm doing good because this is y'all committee. So if I'm missing anything, tap me and stop me. And please feel free to step in as well, because I'm just going off of me joining the meetings in Zoom. So if there's something else that I missed or you want to add, I welcome it.
Clarifying question. Just for expanding the housing resources beyond the 8109 network, are we speaking in terms of like other qualifying criteria housing programs, or are we speaking of expanding the tier system from 8109? Or are we speaking just adding additional funding to the current program so that we can serve a larger amount of people?
So I was gonna say all of that, but it's not.
Okay.
So it's
Darn.
when no. When it's first rolled out, this is when it kind of rolled into our 8109 access fund. So it's a few things. Initially, when we came up with this, it was expanding. We were looking at expanding our current programs outside, as well as looking if we were going to expand the current ones that we had. So what came out of this is we are collaborating with H3 in reference to putting an RFP out and expand outside of our standard housing. So Laos is our standard housing program provider, although there are more outside of that. So we figured collaborating with H3 will open this up to providers that they already have that we may not know of to be able to expand the housing and the type of housing available. Also, some of the things that we recommended was intern housing, bridge housing, and there's a couple other things I don't have the document in front of me, but it's broken out in our and the priority one for the 8109 access fund was the outcome of expanding the housing resources. So what we did in order to identify what that will look like about in reference to expanding the housing resources, we conducted a work group in December of 2023. Where we invited housing providers, Laos came and presented, Hope Solutions came and presented, as well as H3. So we looked at it from a Laos perspective of the work they're doing within Contra Costa County and Alameda County. We looked at Hope Solutions because they have funding from probation, as well as a slew of other housing services and housing. And then we definitely wanted to loop in H3 because, as we all know, that even though they focus on the homeless, all of the services that they have they're touching our population. Even though they don't really identify they should, but and it's self-reported. Tying into those services was important. Understanding the structure that they have was important. So that out of that work group, is how we came up with the, categories for the housing structure for expanding that within the, 819 access. So I'll have to pull that and bring that today. I'm gonna be ready and bring my whole box in here for you.
I can tell you have so many questions.
No, but they're very good questions. So, and then I want to make sure that I point out, it wasn't taken away from our provider at all. Laos is doing great in reference to, what RJ has reported to us and the work that they're doing, but we definitely wanted to expand. So some of the gaps that was reported from the last year's survey was that pre to post-release services. Individual, that window of time from when someone walks out of custody to the next step, they're not housed. And so we need to bridge that gap. So the first initial thing that we thought of as a whole board was bridge housing. But then after we heard from HP, realistically, the cost and how that's structured, it's much more that goes into it. The next question was, well, how do we put more money into what we already have? So it's putting more money into the shelter aspect of it and going out with the RFP to see if there's other providers. And that's opened up to our current, what they want to apply for. It's an RFP. So we couldn't just give the money to our providers. We decided that we wanted to RFP that out, go through H3 to do that. They just did an RFQ where they reached out to do a list of housing providers that was approved. So thought we would go through to open that window up for whomever wants to apply for it. And again, if you haven't seen it, it's out there. And if you look at our policy and budget agenda that we just did, we just reviewed it doing that. So the one other than our next one, I have asked for a copy of the RFP. So I don't know if anybody caught it. That went out with H2. But that was a very good question. Did you have a question?
Oh, sorry.
I gave you a long-winded response, didn't I?
The ADA compliant, so is this members to reach out to the CEOs to confirm whether or not they're ADA compliant? And are they required to be ADA compliant as a entity in California, or when they requested the funds, or how is that?
I don't know if that's a good question. So I would have to ask RJ. I don't know if they're required through their grant or not. I'm not sure if it's a requirement. But it was one of the things that was brought up by a previous member that providers should be ADA compliant. They want to know if they're ADA compliant. So since we go out and actually do interviews at each provider site, and our responsibility as programs and services is to go out and review and monitor and learn about the sites, we thought to ask that question. So we can figure out several ways to find it. I mean, it's something that we can ask the providers ourselves, or our quicker ways, like so when we go out and meet them, see if it's there. But I don't know if it's part of the requirement when they apply for the RFP. Kimmy, is that something that we can ask Officer Reed for Justice? Is that part of the RFP? Is it required for providers to be ADA compliant?
Yeah, I can check. Off top of my head, I don't believe that that's in the RFP, but I can double check.
Well, I see your hand.
Hello, ladies. I was just wondering, when we were going through, what H3 can provide and host solution and allow, one of the tiers that I'm finding in a lot of statistics now is over the age of 50 and clients that are just getting off probation, and some parole within the last 30 days, and they've been coming in, there's no services for us, and I want to congratulate them, because they're off parole or probation, but I'm finding there's a nice group of them that don't fit that category to receive any of the services that we provide by some of the CEOBs or the
And
housing.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, that's a very good question. I know part of the discussion that we're having right now, even when it comes to the interim housing aspect of it, or some of the other things that is on the priorities for the Access Fund, is to expand that tier. So that currently falls under the 8109. Some of the things I also brought up, that same thing is like one of the key statistics are showing that those that are taking deals and finishing out their time and that are no longer on any type of paperwork, they don't have services available to them, or they may not fall under 8109. So I know those are key things that we are also looking at, and that may be something to ask in reference to the survey when we're talking to participants. What type of probation and or parole are you on to identify those that are responding? Are they on any or are they not? Like the ones that are saying that they need services, we never asked that. That could have been a response from women that are not going to qualify for it. Maybe identify what a lot of our CBOs have other funding through other avenues, maybe trying to figure out which CBOs do have the capability of helping individuals that don't fall under 8109, for example. RSC have the other funding, and don't kill me, I can't remember the name. Out for Good, BSCC. I know Laos has other type of funding as well. And we, everybody has a thing, so identifying also with those providers, who else can they help outside of that 8109 funding, and making sure that those resources are there. So those are great things that we can look into, and good questions that came up.
I would like to.
I just had one more thing too. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Yolanda.
Okay.
I'm loving our discussion here.
You done got me started. No, I'm joking. The other thing I was thinking of is someone mentioned the ADA compliance. I know a lot of the programs through CARF, they have to be. So that could be something also we could take a look at to narrow down, if it isn't on that particular questionnaire, then I know through CARF, and most of us are CARF, that we have to have it. I remember when Raina came out to Lao and she asked those questions last year. So I do remember that, if that helps.
Good job. All right.
Another population that is being missed are individuals who are being exonerated when we're wrongfully convicted and being released, after 25 to 30 years. And these individuals are being released not under any community supervision, which can be looked at as a good thing. And naturally, they have, without family support, almost nowhere to go and no funding to house them. So this is also individuals who I think are more than impacted by the justice system and don't qualify for our programs based off of them not being connected to any community supervision.
That is absolutely correct, and they have the most major impact, because, like I tell them, yes, it is amazing. It's actually great that you're on paperwork, but it does not remove. They still have the background, the same issues with employment, with housing, the same stigma. So it doesn't remove. It just increases the barriers, because now you don't qualify for the funded programs. So what do? And that's one of the major things that I've been uplifting. And I know that before Tanya left, she was really focusing on the 290s and 288s as well. Even though that doesn't fall under our 290 category, 819 category, that was one of the things that she definitely uplifted, because that's another population that's community affected. So even though we can't serve them, I think it's a good idea to kind of identify like what's available. At our next book cat meeting, I will be giving an update. I was at a meeting, Tiffany came in reference to the 8109 summit. It is going to be done through Santa Clara County next year. And so I'll give an update on that, but that is one of the things that we're going to identify as coming up with a list of the programs that we're already doing, and kind of identify which ones are, what is out here in Contra Costa County, so that our programs can better assess and help people.
And I am glad you brought up the 290 individuals with special circumstances, because we're currently working with individuals who can't enter treatment or go into an 8109 funded program because they have special circumstances. So I think there should be some thought around where these treatment facilities or SLEs, transitional homes, will be placed, so that way, it's actually accessible to the individuals who are most vulnerable and in need of those types of services.
And that goes back to that bullet of collaborating with other external boards. So that's to join the behavioral health or listen to the calls and raise your hand in public. So those are things that you want to jot down, so that we can figure out where do we need to go to advocate and uplift, and or who do we need to invite here. Behavioral health has also come to CAP in their presentation. Dr. Suzanne and Fatima, they've come here a lot. As those are also part of the Those are also part of the outside, partners that we're working with, because part of the Able Online Access Funds, priority number 2 was for behavioral health. So it was funding one of their mobile outreach vans for AOD to go within the community, and then also to fund 3 positions for forensic mental health. So you can definitely invite those individuals back here as well to be able to ask them questions too.
Before we move on, I have a follow-up question for Yolanda. Yolanda, I heard you reference like individuals over the age of 50. Does your program have like an age requirement for beneficiaries of your program? Is there a cutoff for like 50 years of age?
We don't cut off anyone. We don't show any age discrimination.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you were just pointing out that it was a need for individuals over the age of 50.
it was a need. We don't get many over 50 for whatever reason. We don't discriminate them. But there was a need. And I just wanted to make sure that that need was being taken into consideration.
And I'll add this to what she's saying. One of the key things that I've been pushing for this year is asking members to expand outside of our reentry vote. And the reason for that is like for the Council of Homeless or the H3, and just really learning what's available out there, because there is programming for seniors. We can't fund them, but if we learn about those particular programs and the criteria and advocate for our population or understand what those limitations are and speak on behalf of those, we can better be more equipped to, even if, for example, Loud, just picking on you, even if Louds can't house that particular person, we may be able to identify, for example, there are programs out there for individuals that may be dealing with HIV and AIDS. There are programs out there for individuals that may have mental health issues. There's funding coming for those that have core disorders. We need to look outside of what we already have. So, and it's not looking outside is not taking money away from our providers, but expanding what we have, because we know we're limited in our funding. Our providers can only do so much, but it can also be helpful to make sure our providers know this is available for your population and be able to connect them to that. So it's not just educating them, it's educating our providers and it help. It's time for us to now sit at the same table and remove that barrier of stigma where we're just in one little bubble. And that's just something I would love to see before I leave. And so, I mean, if you ever get a chance, like I said, even if you can't join the other boards, just if you're driving home, listen in on Zoom, go on the link that Garyana showed us and look at the different list of board meetings out there. If something seemed interesting, join it. You may never know what you find in there. I join everything just because I'm nosy and I really want to know what's out there. And I was really surprised to learn all the services that are really available. There are some limitations depending on charges. However, there's others, I can say for myself, where I've been able to refer people to other things, even if it is outside of our provider network, because they qualify for it. So how do we get to that point? And because the whole goal is making sure that we're serving the people and that they don't return into custody, and advocating however we need to make change in places that they may not recognize the change is needed. So that's my little spiel for y'all today. All right, that's good conversation. Any other questions, feedback before we move on? Because I'm looking at time and I want to send y'all home to y'all kids on time for trick or treat. We're good to go? Okay. So, and if any other thing come up after we leave, definitely, jot them down for your next meeting. Take notes for your next meeting and then just be ready to come back and have a full discussion. Agenda item number 6, ambassador program meeting. Now, we couldn't get that out. There's nothing for us to talk about in reference to the ambassador thing today. It was too late to take it out of the agenda. But the reason why it was there previously was because there was going to be discussion around how to do it, but we've already had it. So as of right now, yes. I know we made some changes. I'm not sure if Brenda reached out. Okay, so at OCEC, I'll give an update. We did look over this information. Jeffrey Robertson is currently out at the moment, not sure when he's coming back. So we did reassign his assignments to individuals. I know that some were assigned to Tiffany and I can't remember who else it was, but it's in there. So wherever I know I don't think we gave any more to you, and Tracy, I'm not sure if we gave one to you or not. I don't know why your name is ringing a bell to me. I think you may have one with, Mark, so that we worked on that. And then just gave some updates in reference to, and kind of talked about in more context that we'll do at the full cab. So there's really no discussion here at the next full cab meeting. We will give updates on where everybody is with their calls, have they been able to do it, how many they've been able to do, if they had any schedule. And if you're running into any issues right now, please make sure that you reach out to Garyana and myself. Like if someone's not getting back to you, if you're unable to schedule it. And because I had to reach out to her in reference to one of mine and the contact changed. Any questions before we move on? You didn't have any questions. And I don't think I get, yeah, I did add in to you. So you get to be free. Oh. You get to be free like a bird.
And just to clarify, our goal is to get these assignments done by the holidays.
Yes, so it needs to be, our deadline actually is November.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, that's why the next full CAB meeting will give an update. And we do know it at the very end, last minute. I'll have to check in with Patrice. I know I drafted something up together and then they were gonna work on it for me, just in the event that we couldn't get, people were not responding, that we can send out an email to them with a recap of the work that we did. So the email I drafted up was just about the work and then the priorities that we did and that kind of stuff. So, we can talk about that at the next full CAB meeting if that's going to be used. But I know there's a few people that are responsive. Jill, the CAO, Candace is responsive, the CAO office was responsive. I know Brenda was able to talk to someone as well.
The EHSD.
Yes, EHSD. So some of them are responsive. We may not get all, but I understand. And the holiday, usually we would have had it done by now. So whatever we can get, will be amazing, and then we will just tackle it appropriately, next year.
And then when we received response from the federal collaborator's office, we reached out to John Joy's office and the sheriff.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to, item number 7. Thank you, see, you don't remember me. The grid. So that is on page 47. I want to give some context on what this is and what we're going to use it for. So there should be 2 pieces to this. So it's an Excel spreadsheet. Initially, what we were trying to identify, this was work that we were doing last year, and we were trying to identify, or what we heard from programs that they provide services, and some of the services that they have, they actually subcontract with other individuals. So we wanted to provide put a grid together, because a lot of individuals that may be on CAB, not everyone on CAB is a service provider or familiar of the programs that's out here. So we wanted to have one document that outlines all of our service providers and what services they actually provide. So the whole point of this is more just information from the board. So we have this tab, which is our 819 community program services that are being funded. And then there's another tab that are community partners that's not on here. And that's the responsibility of, responsibility of, it wasn't the responsibility this year of policy and budget, but I'm thinking to, depending on how they pivot, maybe bring it over here. So we have a grid of, again, our CBOs that are funded, or our CBOs. So we have the Race Success Center, Reentry Network, Health Right 360, LAUS, Rubicon, Bay Area Legal Aid, Men and Women of Purpose, and Centerforce. And then the other document that we have is for our county partners, which is like H3, behavioral health, which include mental health, and alcohol and other drugs, EHSD, and those particular larger organizations, to identify what services they have available. And I think in concept, we may need to expand on that, because it may not just focus on the reentry, but just what services do they have that are, I think the best route is what services do they have that our population will qualify for, maybe. And another reason why I want to bring this back is, as I mentioned with the 8109 Summit, and I'll talk about it at the full CAB meeting, that's what we need to bring to the summit is an outline of our programs that we have in the community. So not just our CBOs, and it won't be all our responsibility. I'm gonna brainstorm this with RJ. But they, all the counties are going to share information. What I was excited to hear is not only is the counties want to share information, all the counties want to figure out something that we all want to do. How do we refer back and forth between each other? So if you've been in this field for a long time, we all know that's something that we've been trying to get happen for how long? So to be able to hear other counties say, our goal when we walk away is to understand all programs, reentry, non-reentry, in all the counties, and what can we put together to create a communication if we have someone that may want to go to Solano, Alameda, San Francisco, who is our contact? How did that process look? So to see that in fruition and that's actually happening is great. So there's some things that they want to know about CAB, how our CAB work, how is it structured? They don't, Santa Clara County, theirs is called a lived experience. I call it community advisory board, but each county will give information about whatever their commissions and committees are, and we'll learn from each other. It will be, just to give you an idea, probably sometime in February, and everybody's invited. When it comes to CAB, we will have to be very careful not to be formed, and we can talk more in detail on that and figure out how we can do that. And maybe you'll come as a service provider, right? So, but more discussion on that. But this, as new as our current members, I know this was something that was new to you all as well, because it's something that me, Crawford, and worked on and then passed it over to the time. Look at it. We could probably get the Excel spreadsheet sent out to you all, so make a note of that for me, for Gary to send that out, and think about, do we want to change it? Is there more we want to add on it? Do we like the way that it is, or do we want to expand on it? Everything that we have right now, my goal for next year is I want you all to come together with your ideas. It's okay for us to make a change. Let's go into 2025 with a change. So how do we I want this to be a positive spreadsheet. Our goal is to just make an easy way for everybody to know what's everything. Need feedback. And I love it. And that'll be helpful for, for example, I love the questions that you bring up, especially from a standpoint on what people need. Like that'll be helpful we don't have that. 201 don't have that. So not only do we have that, maybe we can think of, do you want to create one for the community, or there's nothing out there for the community at all. There's nothing.
And I don't think we use the current crisis
For 201, they're not going to create a new crisis guide. They're trying to create they're going to create a new system. So it's not going to be a new guide it's a nice system. I did send it over to our Office of Reentry Justice as well. So they're going to come up with a network, and I forgot what the network is called, but I ended up joining the call where how did everyone talk to each other. One of the things that I brought up is, where's the CBO? Even if the CBOs don't enter into this system, it'll be nice if the CBOs had access to it, because you'll be able to see if they're in the shelter, if they're working with whomever. From the county program side, you'll be able to see where they are and be able to, and how do we get our information, or how do we share? So I'm not sure if it's something that we can use, but like I told, even if it's just giving view access, it'll be nice for you to be able to log in and see that someone went to a shelter or assessment, or just to be able to read it would be good. So, that's a true goal of mine, is how do we start talking to each other outside of our little bubble? So open for ideas, and like I said, the other side is missing on that, because I definitely would want to know from you all, from county programs, what do you think that you would want to know on that particular spreadsheet? Because I know that we haven't added anything on that, because policy and budget was really focused on that able to deny access for the person. So we haven't touched it. All right, again, agenda item number 8, we kind of talked about that earlier in reference to the site visits. I know that a lot, like I said earlier, a lot has happened within the whole full CAB, so we weren't really able to go out and do a lot of the site visits. So I want to bring back to the recommendation that Patrice gave us in Programs and Services a few months ago, which was to go back and look at the presentations from all the providers. Because we had already asked for all the providers to come here a lot. They showed up and showed out for this year. They overly provided information, budgeted. budgets, program breakdown. They answered every question that policy and budget had. They came to the full CAB meeting. So that gives us an idea of at least some of the questions of what the programs have. And then let's figure out how do we want to do the site visits? What does that look like? What do we want to bring? There really wasn't a structure to hand off to the ladies when they went and did it. So I think it'd be a great idea to put some kind of structure to it. And what is the goal of just going out and saying, let me see your room? There was no structure. So, and I like structure, but again, I'm not in charge here. So it's just making recommendations. I think it's a great idea. Identify what is a site visit and what are we trying to accomplish?
So, I know that you shared a lot of the CEOs that already came and shared and provided with presentations. Were they recorded or do we have the slides that were shared?
Both. All meetings are recorded and they'll be on YouTube, and then all of the agendas is there with the PowerPoints. My recommendation is you'll have to go back all the way 2020. You have to go back around September, August. It started about August of 2023. So it will be looking, you have to toggle between the full CAB programs and services. When it comes to policy and budget in reference to our work groups for the housing, behavioral health, employment, and post-release, that started in December. So if you're looking for a lot of the budget information and all that detail, and including the stuff from like the sheriffs and all that stuff, I would say go to policy and budget and start from December. So December was housing, February, either February or March was behavioral health and employment, and then the last one was the pre and post release, which was the sheriff's, Contra Costa County Office of Education, Men and Women of Purpose, did some information about what they do inside. I know it's a lot to ask y'all to go back and read, but that's the best way to kind of get. It's a lot. It's stored in my brain, but that's the best way to kind of get an idea. And then again, next year as we tackle it, maybe we want to, add certain things to the agenda, but what's the best way to do that? Now for any questions? No?
So since it sounds like, well, I'm sorry, so everyone has come and presented, we just haven't gone out and done all the site visits.
Correct.
So there's still site visits that need to be.
Correct, and we're not gonna complete them this year.
completed.
Yes.
Okay.
So right now, because we've already had all of our CBOs come and we've asked them to do quite a bit for this past year, so we have enough data. The site visits in the past was pretty much for us to go out and just meet our CBOs, learn about their programs, see what the site looks like. I think we can expand that. In my personal opinion, I think we need to reevaluate what is a site visit. I think a lot of us have seen it, been there. I don't want to just go and say hi. Where are we going? What is our objective? What do we want to know? What is the goal of CAB when we go there? Is it to, I don't want to say evaluate because I don't want to make our providers think we're coming in with like, check, that's not the goal. But to make them feel comfortable and, we are, as Ozzy used to call us, the watchdogs, right? So where money has been allocated, are those services there? Not just that, ask them what they need. Is there any feedback they want us to bring back to CAB? So how can we make this more friendly, make our providers feel more like tied into CAB? I think it's time to relook at what a site visit is. Yeah,
And from questions too, so that we get on stage.
Yeah. So, again, I'm gonna keep saying it into 2025, fresh new ideas, fresh new year. I'm excited. I'm gonna get all y'all motivated. I'm like, rip it apart, let's start over. Any more questions? All right, for the fun part. So as I mentioned earlier during public comment, again, I want to acknowledge and thank Rena for stepping up for me into chair. I love her for that, especially when we had the recent change. For both of you ladies, I'm very excited to let you know that we have quite a few members that are interested in joining. As you can see, they're here. Yolanda is here today as she wanted to, like she's still here. She was on the fence between programs and services and OCEC, so I'm not sure which one she's picking yet, but I know for a fact that Tiffany and Tracy definitely wanted to be part of this committee. So the first thing that I wanted to do, And I see your hand, I apologize. The first thing that I definitely want to do is also open it up to see if you wanted to remain chair, and if that was art, if not, and I could definitely understand because you stepped, I appreciate everyone that's listening to me. Open it up to see if anybody wanted to be chair, and we need a secretary. We need a secretary for programs and services before we end today. I don't think that's the most thing I wanted to. Right. So I'm gonna open it up for discussion. Both of y'all just make the same face. I wish I had a camera this go. Snap this up, oh, just share it. So I know that I had a taker. But I wanted
Excuse
to
me,
make
can I
sure that-
interrupt?
Who said that? Oh,
Okay.
hi.
Hi,
Yes.
it's Wallanda. I'm interested in program, but not program chair, but I just decided to go with program.
Oh, fine, okay, no program, okay.
Wanted to make
So-
that clear.
Make that clear. So I did have someone that was interested in stepping up already, but I wanted to open it up to everybody to see if there's who else wanted to also be our step up, or like I said, if that was something that you wanted to stay, I was not going to strip that away. So I wanted to make sure that we had, we're very transparent and I talked to everybody at one time. So Tiffany was willing to jump in 4 feet deep. She has called me and has been on it like clockwork. And when I say read through all y'all stuff and asking me questions back to back to back. So that's the reason why, just for context on why I asked her to be, not because she's been chair, but the secretary, because she has been calling me and really reading through everything and stepped up to do that. So I'll do that for all y'all discussion. It is up to y'all, who y'all want, so I throw that out there. I'm just threw you out there. I don't know if you still want it or not, but I'm here as chair. I'm a fly on the wall, so I need for y'all to have discussion. If that's something that you all are okay with, then we can. Do we have to vote her in? I don't remember. Jill, do I have to?
I don't know, maybe Jill knows.
I'll pull on you, Jill, because I don't remember if I have to vote them in. I don't remember that. I don't think I did.
I don't think so. I think the chair has the right to appoint, as I recall with the CAB.
I don't remember. Okay, thank you. I know like at the full board, there's some things we have to vote in. I'm making sure I'm just meeting all the marks. Okay, so Tiffany is stepping in to be chair. Do I have a secretary? Do you want your own throwback? It's either yes, if not, does anybody want to be secretary? We all stop looking at each other. I started waiting her thought. Say, I'm officially gonna be talking to y'all on Zoom going forward. Y'all want to write in a number and then fold it up and. So do you want me to explain to you what secretary is?
Well, I was volunteer for the job already.
Are you gonna be vice chair?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tracy's gonna be vice chair. Vice chair role is, for some reason, she cannot be here in person. She is to take that role for you, okay? Secretary. Well, I forgot, well, not you on there too. Was anybody secretary? Somebody be secretary. Yeah, well, for real. But- Okay, Brandon Moore wants to be secretary, so we have. Okay, I was trying to give her a break to breathe.
I'll be backup secretary.
There's no backup. Okay, so I'll say this, I appreciate everybody's support. So we have Tiffany for chair, Tracy for vice, Brenda Moore for secretary, and Wallanda is willing to be a backup support for anybody that can't show up.
Okay,
And then
okay.
Miss Rita Hurley is called on her when y'all need her. And I'm sorry, I see Sure, you have your hand up, and thank you for being so patient as I was getting that part done. I wanted to make sure I let you ask your question.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not volunteering for anything, so let me just be real transparent.
Sure.
I have no time in my schedule, but I did want I wanted to say something before when you were talking about your site visits and your CBOs. Because And this is just me. I wanted to know, and I wanted to put it on everybody's mind. It seems to me that there needs to be an accountability matrix, because it seems like from year to year, CBOs get chosen, CBOs get awarded monies, contracts, but where is the accountability? Where there is an actual public accounting for the work that is to be done, other than we appreciate the work that you're doing, right? Where is that actual measurables and into the public? And I think that that's something that sometimes we take for granted, that there's an understanding that is being achieved, where rather than a real accounting for it. And I'm just gonna say it, because there's some organizations in our community that are doing too much poverty pimping. And I say what I say, rather than really doing the work to make sure that people are not recycling into the same behaviors. And I want to see more success on the end. So what does that success look like? And that has to come from the people in the program. So I would like to see more measurables from that. And that has to come from these programs. It has to come from CAB. It has to come from juvenile justice. It has to come coordinating council. It has to come from us, what that looks like. So I'd like to see that be part of the work plan and part of the site visits. That's all.
So I definitely want to say thank you for bringing that up. You actually just reminded me so a positive response to what you're saying is I definitely agree with that, because that was one of the things that we did uplift in CAB at one particular point. And I would love to bring that back to programs and services, because I don't want to say that it fell off, but a lot of things, and I don't want to say push this in a negative way, a lot of things that we were working on end up going to the side because we were solely focused on that everyone access fund and getting them done. But at one particular point, one of our items was exactly what she just said. We wanted to figure out how to get more information from the participants. And that's kind of like when the survey and custom started. When it came from our CBOs, a lot of the responses that we got back was that success stories. We don't want a success story. We don't want CBOs to filter and push to us the ones that they think are great. We want real, live, uncut, raw answers. We've had a few unfortunate passings on CAB of individuals that uplifted that. 2 individuals that was very significant to CAB that was part of that process, and it kind of fell off. So I appreciate her bringing that back up, because it reminded me of a pending item that we had not touched. And so outside of doing the in-custody surveys, that is one item. How do we figure out to get information from the actual individual receiving the service? One of the things that we started doing was tabling, going to outside events, getting more involved, so that a lot of folks don't know that we're here to exist, to come here and talk about it. So how to get the people receiving the service know that it's a safe space to come and talk about their program and to come and talk about their services, to know they can come here and express, because we hear from partners. We hear from agencies, but we don't hear from the people receiving the service. So that is one. Also, to answer the other part of the question, is Office of Reentry Justice does a lot of the data capturing. It's not on the webpage for the just out there for the public, but they usually do every year. They do provide program outcome surveys and results, and they do get the measurable data. So that is something that you guys can ask for as a committee from any other information that you want from them, if you identify what that is. But we do need to put that back on our agenda item. And I will be firsthand, I got caught up with the A109 access funds. I didn't think about it anymore. So I would love for you guys to bring that back. We were also trying to figure out how to get more of them on the board, and how to get people that either have been a success or not to come and talk and tell their story. We want to have an open space for people that receive the services to come. But one of our feedback is we did not want them handpicked by the providers. So how do we do that? That's the question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So thank you for that. So write that down. It's recorded, so I'm not gonna be able to say it again. And I want to be mindful of time because we're past. Wanda? Your hand is up. Okay.
Sorry
Commissioner-
about that. Sorry about that. It was up, but the question was answered. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What you said? Okay, thank you. So,
Nicole, real quick, I just want to speak to kind of Cheryl's ask a little bit. I do want to just kind of put it out there that ORJ is in the process of currently creating Power BI dashboards for public facing, so we can kind of see the population that is being served through AB 109 dollars. That's a project that I'm currently working on, so that's one way that we'll be able to capture at least some data. Maybe not necessarily asking directly from those receiving the services, but at least like the data that have been collected through the SAFE database that ORJ is overseeing. So that is something that's going to be coming down the pipeline. I don't know at what point this will be actually available to the public because it's still in the works. But I do want to just uplift that there is work going into this on the back end.
I told you 2025 is gonna be a great year. I'm glad that that is coming down the pipeline. I know that just in other meetings that I am and knowing the work that Officer Justice is doing. You know, I can say this, I know they're looking at the programs. I know they're, you know, looking at making sure people are meeting measurables, you know. The work, the work is getting done. So I know there's a lot of new things that are coming down the pipeline from them, and I'm excited about the work that's coming, and not just with Officer Justice, but just period of what's being done within the community, looking at the RFPs going out, not just with the reentry, but all programs. That's the question across the board with everything. Are people actually really doing what they're supposed to do? Exactly like she just said. So just at different spaces I've been in, it's not just us that recognize that. Now, how long it's gonna take for us to get to there? I don't know, but being part of this work for so long, I'm excited at where we are now, where we're going, because it wasn't there years ago, and a lot hasn't been done up to this place. So, we'll have a lot of great updates for y'all at the full cap meeting. So, all right, the next thing I wanted to do before we adjourn is to pick your next meeting. So this is up to you all. You do have new members, so please definitely talk about if the day still work, the time still work right now. You guys are all set. You all are all set for November 21st. Remember, you must be in person. I know that everybody work and things like that, so please kind of figure out. And if you don't know at this moment, I can ask him to have Garyana reach out to all you guys with some potential things if you're unsure. But right now, you're all scheduled for the November 21st is because normally it's on Thursday, the third Thursday of the month from 11 to 12:30. I mean, I'm using Zoom, so it's up to y'all. Officially, this month, I have been in person to every meeting. What time was the meeting? Your meetings are the third Thursday from 11 to 12:30. That's what you guys currently have scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
But you can, and so I also want to remind you all, even though you set that in stone right now, when you guys go every month, if it's changed, change it. Adjust it based on all you'll have that discussion. Thursdays work good for me. Mondays. That's the only day I'm in the office the whole day. Yeah. So you're
Your Thursday, from 11 to 12:30 will work in the schedule. And we can play it, you know.
Rolanda, next month at November 21st. Get off of mute, please.
And like 3 different things. I'm sorry, I'm doing 3 different things at once. What was the date, please?
November 21st at 11 o'clock from 11 to 12:30.
Okay. Can I have time give me 1 minute to check my calendar real quick, please? What time is it? 3 to 4 again.
11 to 12:30.
All right, thank you. Hold on, I'll get right back to you. You could take somebody else while I look into it.
The last one.
Oh, of course. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm good. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Problem, so we're all good for the next meeting. In the next meeting, you will chair, so, it's not required to have talking points, but if you would like a copy of the topic, like how let me know what you need before your next meeting, and I'll be more than happy to give that for you, and then I will be reaching out to all of you guys within either Friday or Monday to schedule a check-in. All right, so we will, adjourn, and question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Huh? We are going to adjourn our meeting. It is now, what time is it? It is now 4:37, and we will return, they will return on November 21st at 11 o'clock. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
everyone. Have a good evening. Be safe out there. Happy Halloween.
Bye.